Your throat and your pelvis were built to move together. With every breath you take, the diaphragm above and the pelvic floor below rise and fall as one rhythm, which is why when anything silences your voice, it usually leads to some holding in the pelvis, and also why when one opens, it usually begins to free up the other.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about patterning from our developmental years, and then talk a little bit, since we're talking about voicing, about the throat-pelvis connection. In neuroaffective touch, uh, Dr. Aileen Lapierre talks about learned voicelessness. When there's emotional or relational trauma in the family, when it felt dangerous to express your emotions, the vocal cords go into a freeze response, and this can become chronic. So, she talks about oppressive parenting, when you must obey your parents without question, no talking back is allowed. Think about it. If you're raised where talking back is not allowed, there's going to be an unconscious, subtle constraining of the voice and the throat muscularly. Um, what makes it worse is obviously, when there's punishment, shaming, uh, violence, the child experiences this as a withdrawal of love. And a withdrawal of love is threatening to their survival. Um, Aileen speaks about how children feel responsible for their parents' anger towards them, because they feel like it's their fault. So the vocal cords can go into a freeze, becomes dangerous to speak up. Um, Other ways this kind of throat area can lead to contraction is swallowing emotions, um, forced food feeding, which a lot of children experience, or like, I've had clients who said their mouth was washed out with soap, if they said bad words. So this is all kind of constricting and repressing the throat. So, Aileen goes into how the four diaphragms are connected: the thoracic diaphragm, the solar plexus diaphragm, the pelvic diaphragm, right? Um, so something you can ask your clients or ask yourself is, what was not safe to be spoken growing up, especially around sexuality? And simply giving them the space to speak that, or encouraging them to talk about that, can complete that defensive, repressed response. So at this point, I want to show this other graph, which I love. So here we have this correlation between our throat and vocal cords and the female reproductive anatomy. Um, Here on the top left, you see an image of the vocal cords, and then to the left of that, the image of the vulva. Uncanny how similar it looks. Look at the vocal cords and the pelvic floor, and then the larynx and the uterus. It's amazing. The word cervix comes from the Latin word for neck, right? Like the image, they both look like necks. And both the vagina and the throat are supported by a hammock-like set of diaphragmatic muscles, which move in tandem. There we go. With respiration. Both the vagina and the throat are supported by a hammock-like set of diaphragmatic muscles, which move in tandem with respiration. So when we breathe, when female bodies breathe, they move in tandem. Not only are the yoni and throat very similar from an anatomical perspective, but they are also energetically linked. Opening the throat, vocalizing your pleasure, and relaxing. What I find is the reason why it's so important. It's so important for the body to have this loop of oh, I can attune to what my body wants, give voice to it. And when I give voice to it, I'm going to receive it. That starts to give reason and evidence for the body to not have a reason for the armor. The reason genital armor or body armor is there is for self-protection. But once they start demonstrating that, oh, my voice matters, I can say what I want, I can honor my boundaries, then the reason for the armor starts to dissolve, right? And it creates this pleasure loop or this positive feedback loop. It gives more reason to ask for what I want because I'm going to get what I want. The sounds vu or oo are associated with opening up the pelvis. So, like Peter Levine in Somatic Experiencing uses vu. In different Tantra circles, they use oo. So if you just, you're all muted. If you just say ooh, you can feel the resonance in the pelvis, as opposed to ah, which you can feel in your heart. So as you are exploring self-de-armoring or with a client, you can invite them to engage in that sound, ooh or voo. Um, Also, you know, apparent, I've been told, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, female bodies, but during your menses cycle, the vocal changes reflect the changes in your reproductive cycle. When during ovulation, apparently voices get more energetic and active, and in your bleeding period, they're slower and lower. Um, so yeah, if your voice or throat or a client's voice or throat feels timid or restricted or obstructed, consider that opening up the pelvis can open up the throat and vice versa.
To go deeper into this work, start where my clients start, the free genital awakening meditation at rahichun.com.